In a humble neighborhood bustling with the sound of roosters crowing and bicycles whizzing by, stood a small bookstore owned by an equally unassuming man named Thomas. For Thomas, books weren't just items to sell, they were his passion, his lifelong companions made of paper and imagination. Despite its worn-out signage and creaky wooden floors, the store held a charm that reflected Thomas's genuine love for literature. Underneath the store's dusty windows lay a dusty collection of whimsical tales, the classics, and obscure gems only a true book lover would appreciate. One feature stood out, a dusty, old leather chair perched in a corner near the window. It was Thomas's sanctuary, a spot where he sat every evening engrossed in any one of countless extraordinary adventures nestled on his shelves. To strangers, it was just a tired chair amidst a cluttered room. In the eyes of many, especially the ever-busy city folks, Thomas and his bookstore appeared outmoded. His friends often suggested trendy renovations and flashy displays to draw more customers, but Thomas firmly believed that genuine readers appreciated substance over style. His evenings, dedicated to poring over books in his favorite chair, marked the rhythm of his life. From crime thrillers to adventurous quests, his evenings were as rich as the words he delved into. One day, an old childhood friend named Jonathan visited him. Jonathan had climbed the corporate ladder, living life in the fast lane with suits tailored to fit and the latest gadgets at his fingertips. Seeing Thomas in his worn-out chair amidst haphazard books, Jonathan couldn't help but chuckle at the time warp his friend seemed caught in. "Thomas," Jonathan started with a chuckle, "you should think about impressing your audience a bit. This place could use a little glamour, don't you think? Your reading habits are a bit provincial in this day and age." Thomas smiled softly, unfazed. "I know it looks ordinary, Jonathan. But in this chair, I've fought dragons, traveled space, and solved mysteries. It's perfectly impressive to me." Days turned into weeks, and a small festival was to be held in the neighborhood square. Seeing a perfect opportunity to showcase his idea, Jonathan persuaded Thomas to participate with a booth. Despite reluctance, Thomas agreed, knowing it was a chance to share his love for books with more people. At the festival, Jonathan decked up the booth with blaring posters and colorful banners. Amidst this setup was Thomas with his chair, quietly sitting, reading. Crowds flocked to the fancy presentations, ignoring the old man and his literary adventures. Until a young, curious girl wandered over. "Why are you sitting here reading, mister?" she asked, pointing at his chair. Thomas looked up, his eyes twinkling. "Every time I sit here, I discover a new world. Would you like to join me?" The girl climbed into the chair, and Thomas began reading aloud. Slowly, others began to gather, drawn by the unfolding tales. They weren't looking at the fancy booths anymore, but at a simple man spinning magic from words. Thomas's unpretentious love for reading proved contagious, flapping its wings through eager listeners. Even Jonathan, standing in the background, realized that sometimes simplicity had its own charm. The crowd's enjoyment was undeniable, and as the stories concluded, Thomas gently imparted a wisdom that had guided him gently through his life: be careful not to give up your favorite things, no matter how ordinary people think they are. You are not obligated to impress them. The seasoned businessman with friends, family, and strangers alike understood now that it wasn't about the flash or the fanfare, but the earnest love for what one holds dear. Thomas's humble bookstore became a haven for foraging imagination, his chair a beacon of inviting tales. Through the journey and the unassuming words of a passionate reader, a lesson unfolded without adornment, but wrapped in truth.